What up, players? In this starter kit video I'm going to cover some Gunbreaker fundamentals for folks who are just getting started with the class or who are maybe just getting started with the tanking role altogether. I've put together this guide with my experiences leveling the Gunbreaker during early access in the first week of the 5.0 release, and I'll be outlining basic playstyle and covering concepts applicable to the state of the class introduced in the 5.0 release. I do not expect much about the playstyle of the class to change dramatically for future patches outside of maybe some potency changes, but I figure I'd throw that disclaimer out there for you guys. With that said, let's jump right into the first and most simple aspect of the Gunbreaker, the AoE rotation. AoE rotation on Gunbreaker is very simplistic. You're going to start with a Demon Slice and you're going to combo that with a Demon Slaughter. That's going to give you a cartridge, which in turn you're going to spend on a Fated Circle. Really no big deal here. You can add a little bit of flavor to this by using Bow Shock. That's going to put a dot on those mobs for you. Overall, that's sort of all you've got. The nice thing about this easy mode AoE combo is that all the skills are 360 degree around you. You don't have to worry about clonal placements, and you don't really have to be a tryhard to get this to work for you. Let's get into the single target rotation. Your basic cartridge earning combo is Keen Edge, Brutal Shell, Solid Barrel. This will load one cartridge into the chamber, as it were, and give you a small heal and absorb barrier while you're mid-stroke on that combo. You have two non-AoE cartridge spenders in Gnashing Fang and Burst Strike. Gnashing Fang being the most exciting of these two spenders, as once you gain the skill Continuation, you'll be able to weave OGCD skills in between the abilities of this combo. The basic Gnashing Fang combo is comprised of Gnashing Fang, Savage Claw, and Wicked Talon in that order. At level 70 you'll get a Continuation skill, and this combo will play out as follows. Gnashing Fang into Jugular Rip, Savage Claw into Abdomen Tear, Wicked Talon into Eye Gouge. And let me tell you, this is where the Gunbreaker really starting to tighten up my pants, because this combo feels amazing anything you connect it to. Your other cartridge spender is Burst Strike. This is a very straightforward 500 potency right in the face. It's going to be used while your Gnashing Fang combo is on cooldown for the most part. Other single target abilities in your kit include Rough Divide, which can be used as a gap closer, Sonic Break, which is 30-second damage over time, Lightning Shot, that's your ranged pull, and Danger Zone, which is later upgraded to Blasting Zone via the Danger Zone mastery trait, and this is an off global cooldown attack. Moving on to No Mercy and Bloodfest, these are what I would consider DPS utilities, and they're used to enhance or optimize the output of this rotation, so let's get into how those are going to play out for you. No Mercy is a flat 20% DPS buff for 20 seconds, and Bloodfest will immediately load two cartridges into your gauge. The overall DPS output dream is going to revolve around the preparation and execution of big damage combos and cartridge spenders within the 20-second No Mercy buff. Since No Mercy is on a 60-second cooldown and Bloodfest is on a 90-second cooldown, you're not going to be able to line all of this up every time your Gnashing Fang combo is available. You should be able to line up both of your dots and every other Gnashing Fang combo and Blasting Zone with this No Mercy cycle, as well as get a real girthy No Mercy every 3 minutes, or third No Mercy, because Bloodfest will be back off your cooldown from your opener. Also, if you're a fan of those big brains and those hard math users over on the Balanced Discord, above is a depiction of the current main tank opener that's going to give you an idea of the flow of these abilities together. I'm going to put a link to the Balanced Discord in the description of this video. And since I love the animations of Gunbreaker, let's take a look at how that rotation is going to visually stimulate you right now. This was a clip I recorded while I was leveling, and you can more or less see the rotation gets pretty fast inside the No Mercy window, and it can get tight towards the end. As this is a beginner's guide, I cannot stress enough that if you're still getting comfortable in the tank role, you should not obsess over always performing the most optimal opener. Optimizing your damage output is a worthwhile endeavor while you seek that God mode tank status. But first you need to be able to provide the basic functionality of the tank role with confidence, and then later you can ease into the parse chasing. Okay, let's move on to defensives. You're playing a tank because you want to defend things, obviously. So the Gunbreaker has a pretty healthy list of defenses available to him, covering standard damage reduction and some useful self and party abilities. If you've made it this far into the video, I'll assume you can also read most of the tooltip descriptions on the standard role-based defensives, but here's a quick rundown on what they do and which situations I've found them to be useful. Starting out, Rampart is 20 seconds of 20% reduced damage intake. I typically like to use this as my first defensives in dungeons when pulling big packs. Arm's Length nullifies knockback and applies a slow when you get hit. The important note here is that the slow is applied when you get hit. I typically alternate this one with Rampart, as the cooldowns tend to line up well given travel time between big pack pulls and the new dungeons if you're going at somewhat respectable a pace. In a raid setting, you'll want to hold this for any pushback mechanics that may be coming up. Reprisal is a quick 10% damage output debuff that you put on the target. It's not a super powerful defensive, but it does have its place if you know big damage is coming your way. Now on to the Gunbreaker specific defensives. Nebula, straightforward 30% damage reduction, 10 seconds. Really good for tank busters or any panic moments that you may run into. Camouflage, parry rate, 50%, 10% damage reduction, and it goes on for 20 seconds. This is a good one to use between Rampart and Arm's Length in dungeons, in my opinion. Super Bolide is your immunity ability. It drops you to 1 hit point and makes you invulnerable for 8 seconds. You can pretty much make your own decision on how you feel about this, but hey, it's not Living Dead, am I right? Heart of Light is a group-wide 10% magic damage reduction. Just remember it's magic damage only and use that accordingly. Heart of Stone is definitely the most fun ability to play with. This allows you to put a 7-second 15% damage reduction buff on yourself or a party member. If you want to be a real pro with this ability, you can handcuff it to your Brutal Shell ability and share those effects with your teammate. I've found that for the most part, if I know I'm the only one that will be taking damage for a while, I'll use this ability on myself in between defensive cooldowns as sort of a revolving active mitigation. The utility in this ability comes in its party application. If you know one of your friends is about to take a shot for the team, you can toss one of these their way to soften the blow and help your healer out. Here's a good example of a situation like this during the encounter with Light Warden Eros, where I see a teammate tethered and about to take the charge, so I preemptively Heart of Stone them to help mitigate some of that damage. I'll cover the mouse over macro I use for this ability in the last section of the video. And finally, for defensives, I'll go over stuns and interrupts very briefly. In 5.0, Yoshi saw fit to put some good visual indicators for interruptible spells. Your interrupt is called Interject and can be used to stop the cast of a spell if the cast bar looks like this. For all of the non-interjectable spells out there, you can use Low Blow to stun the mob out of the cast, assuming that mob is stunnable. This will also look like this. Interrupting and stunning makes your healer's life easier, and in some cases, it's mandatory to stop specific mechanics. In this last section, I want to go over some pro tips and some helpful hints that I've used while leveling up as well as while just trying to reach that goal of being a more efficient tank. Number 1 is use the aggro list. If you're having any trouble seeing through all those glorious spell effects or properly targeting ad mobs on big pulls, make sure you're using this aggro list UI element. This will not only show you which mobs you're in combat with and the level enmity you have with them, but you can also select those targets within the list rather than having to fumble around with tab targeting or trying to click them specifically within the pack. I also use mouse over macros not only for healing, but I also use it on some of my tank abilities. This is the mouse over macro I use for Heart of Stone and Aurora. This will cast the ability on whichever target your mouse cursor is hovering over, whether that be from the party list or their actual character. This can give you some flexibility in those clutch moments when you really need it. This macro will also self-cast the ability if your cursor is not placed over a valid target. This way you can always keep your enemy targeted while also providing your group utility very quickly. And last but not least, I always try to cast Aurora on myself pre-pull, as it will give you a small head start on enmity from the healing effect. Alright players, that sums up everything I've gleaned over the first week of Shadowbringers and the initial leveling journey. Hopefully this has been helpful to anyone looking to jump into the class or role. And like always, leave some comments or questions and don't be shy with the subscribe button. I also intend to put some more of these starter kit videos together for my favorite classes, so look forward to that if you enjoyed this content. You can also catch me on my Twitch channel, so stop by and have a drink with us while we all bathe in Yoshi's vision.